We're back, ladies and gentlemen. RNG are 1-0 up in this best-of-5 finals for the LPL 2019 Summer Split. It wasn't an easy game, but it definitely looked comfortable. Hello, welcome back to the desk. We are all here ready to go for this next series, this next game. And guys, I'm gonna go to you first, Soaz. What's the kind of general feeling after you've lost the first game? You're in a best-of-5. Who do you look for to try and not, to bring everyone back up? Is it the veterans? Is it the coaches? Who would you be looking for to make sure no one, mental booms?
There's never a specific person that you look towards. It depends on the teams, really. It depends on who is in the mood to do that as well, because depending of your day, everyone can be different. So hopefully they have someone that they can rely to bring back the mood and just to be positive for next game and to create a plan on what to do, whether it's players, whether it's coaching staff. It doesn't matter. They just need to have someone to look for, and that can help them with that.
And Nelson as well. Like, you're the coach. Obviously your team are going to be pretty discouraged coming in after that game. You didn't really have much of a chance in the early game. What are you looking to try and say to them to really kind of push them back up into this series?
I think as a coach, you should just take the blame for our players, at least when you're explaining it to them. If the player asks you, oh, why did we lose this game? Then you're just like, oh, it's my fault, I drafted badly, stuff like that. But I think FPX would be fine because, I predicted 3-1, and I believe Doinb right now is trying to cheer everyone up.
Show everyone up, of course. Of course, it is a massively RNG favored crowd. Anytime Uzi did anything or RNG did anything, that crowd erupted. It was insane. Can that affect you? Like, obviously, you've played in a lot of home and away venues internationally. When you're against the kind of the crowd, does that affect you? Does that get to your head a bit?
Not really. I've always liked myself to be against the crowd. I think it's just easier to play.
You like to be the villain.
Yeah, there's just little to no expectation of like you winning, so you have less pressure, honestly. At least that's my own opinion about it. Maybe here it's different, it just depends on the players, really.
And do you think that they're, obviously for a lot of these players, we talked about it in the pre-game, a lot of these guys haven't been to an LPL final before. A lot of them are still waiting to this is their first time, Is it kind of, can the occasion get to you? Can it kind of, build up in you a little bit?
It looks like they're not super warm at the start of the game. At least Lucian dashing into Morgana Q. What else did we see? Xiahu on the Raptors.
That Xiahu Raptors was...
I think there's a few misplays at the start of the game, so hopefully... hopefully not, because I predicted 3-0 for RNG, but hopefully for them, they have warmed up now, and they can actually fight back against RNG.
Yeah, and we talked about what we wanted to see in the pick ban. Do we think anything crazy is going to come out this game from FPX, or do you think they're going to keep it kind of fairly simple until game 3?
They are blue side now, though.
Yes, they are blue side.
Then I think it would be like pretty standard, but they should look to play more to like mid-top side, because regardless of champion matchups, as long as Langx is at top, then RNG wouldn't play at top.
I think what FPX needs to do on blue side right now, if they want to win, they need to have strong flexes. So I would want to see them flexing Akali. We saw that their top laner is playing Akali. So I want to see them eventually first pick Akali, look to flex it, and just look to get 2 strong flexes.
Yeah, maybe the Aatrox.
Yeah, eventually Aatrox, Akali. Look to have early game jungler like Jarvan, Elise that have free time as well, and look to play on the solo lanes.
All right, and so for Uzi, how do you contain this man? How would you look to try and,
Don't die 2v2?
Don't die 2v2. That's one way to do it, of course. But, what is, do you play safer now on the bot side? Do we look towards more of a Tahm Kench Braum rather than a more aggressive pick? What would you be looking for if you were in this situation?
I think Lucian pick is fine. I think they just need to, not to just pick in the 1-2 when RNG didn't show anything of their bot lane. Is not that great. So I would just want them to see a little bit more in draft and just have a better support matchup. And I think they'll just play better straight up in the 2v2. It wasn't so much about the matchup, just like a little misplay that set them back. They managed to get like a double kill after, but then they died again after when Karsa came back. So a little bit of back and forth. They need to respect where their own jungle is and respect where enemy jungle can be. and just play on that. And as I said, now that they have warmed up, I hope to see little to at least less mistakes in the early part of the game, yeah.
And Nelson, for RNG, like, yes, you won the first game, but it wasn't the cleanest. It wasn't like 100% domination to what we expected from the early game. If you're the coach of RNG, are you happy with that performance? Are you kind of just saying, like, you know, we have some things we need to improve? What's your mentality coming into game 2 if you're on RNG?
Yes, because if I'm not wrong, like FPX chose the first game, right? And right now it's RNG's turn to choose, and they're the most comfortable on blue side because you can pick whatever power picks they want, and doesn't matter what matchup Yuzai gets because he's just gonna win bot lane. I think they're probably like in their comfort zone right now because they chose blue side, and I believe they should be able to like get a drop they want.
Get whatever drop they want, kind of continue with the power picks, of course. And they talked about it a little bit on the Karsa desk as well, but like, you know, the top lane isn't exactly something that has been eventful in any way, shape or form. And you know, we did say that we wanted to maybe see some top priority, maybe try and force the hand of either, you know, Langx or even GimGoon as well. You know, does that come with the flex picks, or is that again down to those kind of like early priority junglers?
I think flex pick 2 strong solo lanes that will be able. I mean, if you play 2 strong solo lanes and flex picks, usually you want to play on them. So I don't want to see like something like Skarner. I just want to see a Jarvan, I want to see a Liz, I want to see Gragas. Anything that can play on that will be the best. And I mean, I know that LPL players have been playing Akali with Fleet, but I'm not a big fan of Fleet Akali. I want to see a bit more lane domination, especially when you play matchup against something like eventually Renekton, which would be the case in this game, even though they swapped. So maybe just a bit more lane focus in the case if they play Akali.
All right, so the Akali, maybe with slightly different runes or masteries, maybe just something to, you know, kind of like make it a little bit, you know,
more spicy.
More spicy, exactly. Yeah. So, you know, from the side, as we see the teams coming back out here onto stage, you know, from the side of RNG, you're relatively happy. If the Renekton isn't banned, do you go for it again? Do you look for that lane swap again, Nelson, or do you kind of just like, you know, try and keep FPX guessing?
Yeah, I think like RNG should be they have the lane swap in their pocket, so when they think the time is right, they can use it just to get favorable matchups, especially for the mid lane. Because I think RNG has figured out, especially in the first game, that if they can control mid jungle, they should be able to win the game easily.
Yeah, I think going for the Yasuo again is completely fine as long as Renekton is out of the picture. I mean, Yasuo Gragas is known to be a very strong 2 versus 2 and is good in teamfight. It's a good scaling as well. Gragas is a very strong jungle champ at the moment, so it's completely fine as long as Renekton is out of the picture, because as soon as this champion is 6, you cannot win the 1 versus 1 and you cannot win the 2 versus 2, or at least it's very hard to do that as long as Elise is playing for mid as well. So they can go for that again, just not with Renekton being in the picture.
And it's like something we kind of never really touched on because there was just so much to talk about, but the Elise kind of pickup, instead of something like an Olaf or a Sejuani, that wasn't something we're really expecting, especially with the Renekton pickup. It's not something that's very RNG.
I said that I wanted Karsa to be playing a jungler that have a lot of free time, and I was opting for Jarvan. Jarvan was banned from FPX, so I really like the Elise, you know, it have a lot of free time. So he can be looking for plays, and yeah, they managed to do that pretty well.
And do you think as well, like the Gragas into Elise matchup, it's an okay matchup for both sides, or do you think there's a very heavy kind of, you know, did they take a risk taking the Gragas into the Elise?
I think it's fine depending on how they want to play, like the 2 versus 2 out, or whether they don't want to take a 2v2 at all. But like, if you remember, there was a play where Doinb died to the race. Like actually during that time, FPX were trying to use their support to get mid prior, but it just happened that he died to race, you know?
Yeah, we keep bringing up that play because it was very like, I think that we were like looking at something else, and then we like zoomed over to the Yasuo and we were like, oh no, not like this.
That was very unfortunate. As I said, like the support just does his free time to help out mid and then just end up dying, so it's bad for both of the laners. So yeah, just unfortunate.
Yeah, very unfortunate thing. And again, like those little small mistakes can be the difference in those early game skirmishes, because with Yasuo not being able to defend mid lane or even get back any quicker, it did mean that they picked up 2 plates in mid lane. It did mean they got the priority. They got the full setup around the side lane, so they had full control over where they wanted the jungle, you know, pathing to be. And I feel like RNG are just happy enough kind of knowing that they are the veteran team in this particular instance.
Especially, as you said about the Elise Gragas, it's more so on the Elise. He wants to get the lead in the early part of the game. So if this misplay doesn't happen on the Yasuo, on the 2v2 kill in the bot lane, FPX will be able to scale a bit easier, and maybe they will be able to contest Baron a bit more. A few things will change into the game. So I think matchup it's supposed to be completely fine for Gragas as long as those mistakes doesn't happen.
Yeah, I think as well, you know, Doinb, a lot of pressure on him, of course. He is seen as the star carry within, you know, FPX. Thankfully for them, they have locked in Worlds, so they are not going to be a Griffin 2018 situation where we're all want to see them. A little less pressure.
Yeah.
You've got to back up to kind of say, you know what, we'll make it better for Worlds. But, you know, Doinb's a player that we've been talking about for such a long time, and everyone's been wanting to see him in Worlds. And so it's like, I'm sure you've obviously heard of him as well. Do you think that, you know, that kind of expectation is a little bit on top of his shoulders, or do you think he's just kind of like, you know what, I'm going to play my best and see how we go?
I feel like when you play final and you're already qualified, like you're playing like if it was the normal stage. Like you don't feel like you're in a big arena, and
it's not as high stakes. Yeah,
it's not as high stakes. So I believe that he can play his A game with no real issue. They've had one game to warm up right now, so I hope that the next few games will be a lot better overall for both teams.
And Nelson, for you, for someone who has watched pretty much all the games of these two teams throughout the entire season, who are you expecting to kind of really be that person to step up for FPX, the player to watch out for, to really kind of bring everybody else up with them and say, no, we're in this series?
I think for FPX, there's only one person, because this is like Doinb's team.
It's Doinb.
Yeah, it's basically Doinb and like his friends.
So we got Uzi and the 4 teleports and Doinb and friends.
Yeah, Doinb and friends, yeah. Because basically, like, whatever team he goes on, he just brings the 4 of his teammates to like the top of the standings, you know, every split.
Yeah, I think as well. Like, and I think with Doinb, you know, like you said, we saw him there actually in the shots. He's looking happy. He doesn't seem like he's getting it down to him or anything like that. But you know, I think for RNG, there's a lot of expectations around this team. It's a similar thing to how, you know, when last season during the Golden Road, you know, it was like RNG are in, they're gonna win. It's until we see them lose that we're actually not going to believe it. Same with SKT. These are the kind of organizations that have, you know, really set themselves up. But we'll have to wait and see exactly how they get in and on to Game 2, as we're going to chuck it over to our casters for the start of pick and ban of this best of 5.
Yes, thank you very much, BP. Welcome back to the desk with Raz, Clement, myself, Asterix. We're going into Game 2 with open hearts after an RNG win. And I like that Nelson on the desk, before we came over, was referencing the Doinb Raptor situation. That was a fun way to start Game 1, Raz.
Yeah, because we at least knew what the direction was for the team, right? That what they were trying to do was to be able to at least save the mid lane situation and also hit on the nerves factor.
Yeah.
There's a lot of nerves. The 2 misplays, pretty crucial one that put FPX in such a massive deficit, but you saw the images of Doinb and Warhorse just laughing about it.
Yeah.
The mentality is strong here, so we're going to be seeing both these teams, my expectation, coming back refreshed for Game 2.
I bet Doinb just said, you know what, this was on me, that Raptor situation.
Yeah.
Game 1, that's on me, let's forget about it.
I was going to say, I
think
think that's just the start for Doinb. We've seen great performance out of the first seed, out of the now World Security FPX. We want to see that competitive grand final against the powerful RNG heading into Game 2.
And that's always a great point, because what they are really fighting for is who gets to avoid SKT in group stages. This is basically the award here.
I mean, no, wait a second. We're trying to get that championship. You calm down.
That's true, that's true.
RNG is in a golden situation as per usual.
Yeah.
But also, if we just our conversations about, you know, the new LPL, the teams coming up, rising up, FPX, BLG, top esports. FPX seems to be the champion of the new squads. GimGoon, LWX, Crisp, and Tain have never had that championship opportunity in their lives. Doinb has been there, and he's the reason why he's, you know, getting themselves primed and ready for Game 2.
Exactly.
It does look like we're going to see RNG with a very similar start of the draft from Game 1, just swapping the sides over, taking away the Karsa Nautilus combination, and then Elise mid-jungle priority, everyone's been saying it, is going to determine the game.
Now so everyone understands side selection, FPX won the coin toss at the start. They get side selection in games 1, 3, and 5. So games 2 and 4 were RNG choosing the red side.
So just the consistent points for both these teams in the pick ban since 9.50's come through is RNG have banned Silas 100% of the time.
Yes.
They just do not want to work around it, mostly because Xiahu's really there to just shove lane and rotate. Doesn't want to be put in non-priority situations to begin with, even though he's good at playing the champion. But then you look at FPX, and they tend to ban away very safe bottom lane picks. Zai has been a constant, and it takes Rakan out of the equation. And then the Morgana, just based off of how the last game went, A, defensive, B, Ming is a monster on it.
Yeah, he definitely is. You're going to see the Ming Nautilus this time around, the Ezreal from Uzi as well. So if we're just talking about safe bottom lanes, there's one there for RNG.
Right now, the question is, like, what is FPX going to pick blind? One of their solo laners is going to be countered towards RNG, and that really opens up the door for Elise dives in one of these solo lanes. RNG's bot lane itself, however, is pretty damn safe.
Yeah, safe and strong. If we're just talking about what Uzi ends up picking into a lot of low-range AD carries like Xayah and Karsa, Ezreal is the go-to pick. He's one of the rare AD carries that can slot him into strong side of the map. So looking towards just, support an AD carry pool, I think these are actually good, really early good lane matchups for RNG. It'll allow Elise for Karsa to play towards the bot side of the map incredibly safely.
I like that the word strength of the map comes up as well, because Langx finally gets his Aatrox here in this series for the first time, and in the past, the 1v2 top lanes, that's what's helped him survive.
And just to set this up, this isn't a flex pick between RNG this split. We haven't really seen Xiahu pick it up, so it has to go top lane. And Gnar is a great counter matchup into that one. So FPX, they have that strong top side to play towards. Bot side dive, all options are open.
Yes, the Karma Hover. And while this meta, I know it's the go-to pick and ban solution, but I remember 2017 where teams just consistently banned the Karma away from Doinb. Back in the Xiahu Reapers days, he would just simply look to play around his AD carry. At that time, Alone was the AD carry, someone who wasn't as well respected, not even close to LWX here. So this is a great composition to protect LWX and maybe a pretty heavily, burst build related to just poking in the later.
I just find it funny that Doinb's playing Karma into Xiahu, which a lot of people will know Karma has been his go-to, whether favored by the fans or not.
Once again, I tend to favor FPX's composition. I think their bot lane duo is a lot stronger when it comes to assisting with the ganks, and their top side is technically a counter pick. And if you look at mid-jungle priority, RNG do have a lot of kill threat, but it's a double AP composition against Karma priority. So I feel like FPX, even on the blue side, should be able to secure early game.
All right, gentlemen, going into game 2. This is going to be the Elise versus Gragas matchup once again, with RNG and FPX looking to challenge and bring the tempo once more.
It's funny, because at the end of the day, in the first 5 minutes, your eyes dart towards the mid lane. And for me, Doinb is a player who has never touched Zoe. In his career, 0 Zoe games played, has usually gone towards the Rise, Karma, anything that deals with it early on in the game, while Xiahu's just been an outright beast on the pick. So I'm looking towards that mid lane matchup and expecting the MVP chance to come in strong if it's going to be Xiahu who finds the early pick. But you're looking towards who is the emotional in-game leader in Doinb, towards FPX to see if they can at least keep him down.
He's got a great setup for this. The Fiends can come out early. He can pump up LWX. 2 of them are chasing for who gets the most kills in this split. And Uzi was only 9 behind for LWX, hitting really strong in playoffs. So we might want to see Doinb secure that lead for him.
Because game 1, it was all about Uzi. The AD carry matchup favored him. When we go into game 2, with the setup now available for LWX, let's see if he can reach that same height. The AD carry that I know everyone tuning in at home will ask who. This man's been in the LPL for a damn while. He's hit the all-star team, and now coming into game number 2, let's see if he can match Uzi, and let's see if FPX can equalize the score. by the smallest amount, even though there are LGD chants at the venue as well. You can hear Doinb's wife, and you can hear the passion behind FPX and the environment in the arena.
Yep, chant leader. Has been since day one. So it's fun to be able to see that emotional factor come into play here. But just coming right at the get-go, taking a look at this, so it's going to be Comet startup here for Doinb, because the main goal is to keep Xiahu down. Poke him consistently. There's a kill threat here alongside Gragas after he finds a base off, gets his boots ready. So, you know, if I'm looking towards Tain is one of the rare junglers here in the LPL that does look to play through all 3 lanes. And while heavily he tends to focus towards the bot side of the map, he does find opportunities to go topside, much like we saw in the last game when he was trying to fish for plays. And I think this time around, he has a good matchup here with the Gnar and Toph for GimGoon.
And I think it's really interesting that both of the junglers are starting on the top side as well, unassisted. So that just goes to show you how much they're really looking at that top lane matchup and saying that this could be the deciding point between the matchup. The other rest of the lanes, you don't really expect that many kills to happen.
Yeah, maybe top to bot turns out into a kill for Karsa. We'll have to see. Good trades coming through.
With that early aggression once again from RNG.
Exactly. But the reason why Karsa would go towards Krugs here is because he's looking at a, you know, Tain on the Gragas pick, wanting to get his full side of the map cleared out, go back to base and pick up his boots. He's going to be farming a little bit more heavily. At least doesn't want to be just throwing out haymakers in an experience disadvantage. So it makes a lot more sense. He'll try and move towards the bottom side of the map. There's a reason why the ward is there in the river, so he can look to fight for Scuttle Crab control. It's going to be difficult if FPX tries to look to contest for it.
Has just expired now on their main buffs. Red and blue alike. Scuttle spawning in about 15 seconds time, with RNG's bottom lane having this shot.
And I mean, it's also just good vision really early on in the game to see if Tien's starting bot side and wants to swap the, you know, trade sides of the map and force Karsa to play towards the top side of the map. So those are the risks involved. I remember earlier on Clement making a point about how Karsa tends to want to start towards bot side a lot. But this time around took that risk, and he's paying off with the Scuttle Crab now picked up for Karsa.
Crisp in a lot of trouble here. We'll have to sustain with the passive, but Uzi and Ming still pushing in, still bullying out the cow, with Tain now nearby on the Krugs. Karsa making his entrance known as well.
He sees him.
Yep, and Karsa right now fishing for a potential tower dive. The HP they took off of the bottom lane was quite substantial, but Tain in the right place at the right time. That's not going to work out.
But with the pressure, this happens every time, by the way, for RNG.
Yep.
Even if they don't end up finding the kill, just being able to force waves off of LWX, be it just not being able to farm underneath the turret, consistently trying to get poke underneath that tower as well, that's the strategy RNG ends up looking for. If they don't get the dive, they still get a lot of gold in favor of Uzi.
And the sheen on the first back here for the Ezreal. So the start is there. Teleport doesn't have to be burnt as well. So Uzi can just walk back to lane with Ming. And LWX and Chris looking to reset the wave finally.
And I have to say this is going quite well for RNG. None of their lanes have been perturbed, and they're just racing ahead with the CS leads, especially in the bot side. Both times RNG were able to find level advantages and just push into CS leads. Very well done on that matchup.
I just want to see what happens off first base, because my expectation is, you know, fair enough, RNG doing well right now.
Yep.
But the solo lanes for FPX are definitely stronger. If I'm looking towards GimGoon, going towards, I would expect to be, you know, picking up an early Grievous Wound item just to be able to keep Langx down.
No.
Wow.
Oh my lord.
You kidding?
That smite was like 50 HP off.
Get off of me.
That's great. Yes.
And we
flashed it.
emoting too.
But you need to emote in the lane or on a ward.
So he can see. No. That's just for us, Clement.
Yeah,
That's just for us.
That's what, you know, people out there, you don't always flex in front of a mirror. You just flex to feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was for the coach.
That was 60 gold, just taken away with a simple barrel roll. So net win for 10. Oh, we're getting a replay.
What?
Yeah, let's
We're getting
see
a
it.
small replay.
So, of course, he knew that they were on the Krugs to begin with. So
Okay.
that information was definitely there. The shove came through from Doinb, so this was nice and safe. Yeah, sad. Really sad to see it happening. That's a pretty valuable Krug camp, too. And he was able to take Krugs of his own bot side. That's going to turn into an experience advantage pretty easily for Tain.
Already level 5. Karsa caught up eventually, but you can see pings going down with the Kragas who steals away. He has access to the bottom side, but with that deep control ward from RNG, it'll be hard to get down there.
Yeah, and that's the concern here. With how well Tain technically did up top side. That was still a nice cheeky play, but the vision control is pretty heavily in favor of RNG on the bot side of the map. Karsa has free reign of the enemy red side jungle. And take a look at the minimap. Zoe's already on the way.
That's a dredge line that lands again onto Chris. Here comes Karsa looking for the cocoon. He sends out the volatile spiraling, and Chris gets ignited, but no! The Elise dies first. FPX making it 1-for-1, but here comes the teleport down as Uzi is stuck in the middle. The bubble won't do a damn thing as FPX make the turn.
Look at that outplay! Just like that, the Alistar was stuck in a position, got a nice 2-man headbutt pull, and was able to get a great position for FPX, but it's not over. Ming got to walk away now.
And exactly I really like that decision-making from Doinb. He actually held on to the lane, knew what the play was going to happen, but FPX were prepared. They had the ward in the outer brush for a potential dive. Doinb comes in, is able to sandwich Uzi, and even though Uzi doesn't burn his summoner, he does have to pay with his life.
I would love to see the replay of that because the setup was definitely there for RNG. They had the 4 members ready for a dive. They had a wave incoming as well. They were just confident that they can get the kill on towards Crisp before really anything even happened to LWX. But I guess before we even touch on that, Karsa's already on the move.
He didn't burn his flash in the last engage. At least he'll have it now onto GimGoon, who has his own. Level 7 Nah hops on over, dodges away. That'll be flash burnt from top, and that'll be a recurring gank to look out for.
It's a very clean play from GimGoon. He knows that the cocoon's going to come out after the red buff auto attack. Dodges is out. Good prediction. Stays alive.
Remember, with RNG, you don't send him to the top side much, so getting a bit of pressure away from Langx is good news. He already had the CS advantage. He's going to get the shove out here as well, and maybe look for some turret plating.
I've been liking how this game's been playing out, even with the kill advantage and the nice outplay FPX had, I think, a few times for RNG. This is a consistent play that they can keep going for. At some point, it's going to succeed.
This is the ultimate peekaboo here from Xiahu. Level 7 Zoe onto the bottom lane, and Uzi trying to poke them down as well, but how do you get under this turret?
Look, bot lane is simply a prison for LWX and Crisp, because Xiahu's going to stick a while just for the wave to actually crash, and goodbye.
That was a good bluff. LWX does have teleport, but I don't think you want to use it on this turret right now.
And what I'm so surprised about right now is that Xiahu has been able to dominate this lane. Usually when you think about Karma, she has such good wave clear, such good poke, and you have Gragas that can kind of come in and help with that as well. But RNG are wrestling away full lane control without any jungle intervention. That's very good for Xiahu doing that to Doinb.
And at the end of the day, this is far more focus from both squads in this game in comparison to the last. Because, you know, to your surprise, Hysterics, the teleport coming through was a great recognition that Doinb was pulling in pressure after pushing in the wave completely. Zoe wasn't going to be a part of the wave, and even then, the wave had been thinned out to an extent in which he can defend alongside Crisp there. So, good focus in that situation. He's not going to be, you know, giving off a free kill like he did in the last game. In this case, FPX are ready to fight, and they're doing a great job with RNG's consistent pressure.
It has a much different feeling in the early game, Clement, when that solo 2v2 kill doesn't come through from the bottom lane of RNG.
It's much closer, and even with the bot lane dives, you do see FPX still hold relatively even in terms of the CS score. So Uzi's not getting a ridiculous start. There are things to look forward to, and that's kind of what I'm looking towards is the way FPX wants to build out their Karma. They do have a hyper carry in the Karsa, so I do expect the Ardent Sensor to come out, or the Athenes to just kind of pump up LWX's damage, and they're putting faith in that AD carry to measure up to Uzi.
And take a look at the minimap right now. Bot lane is heavily defensive warded, so Ming and Uzi can play as they are, with Karsa not even being anywhere near them. So they have a good amount of ideas of where Tain is, can force, let's say, this kind of a play and play to their limits, while at the same time, Langx had a pretty large wave being pushed into. The expectation that was that Tain was going to be there for a dive, so Karsa was there for a defensive play, just in case if the dive was going off. So RNG had put themselves in a map state where they were in a pretty high probability of succeeding in both lanes.
And now they're sending down the cavalry anyway, so Xiahu, Karsa making their way as it's going to be Tain who's going to try and stop it, but remember, it's a mountain dragon first, so RNG's priority will extend past this.
All right, well, we see you, Uzi, but I don't think they had eyes on Karsa just yet.
Here comes...
As Chris going in for the engage, Uzi disappears, but remember, we've got to look at Karsa, who's making his entrance known. Tain gets Cocoon down, Ming survives for now, sends the ulti over to the Karsa, repel up, but Karsa doesn't want to take the engage. Teleport comes through from Xiahu, and FPX just have to disengage while RNG take dominance again.
That was hilarious, because while this play was happening, Doinb was tracking and skirmishing Xiahu. but you can definitely tell he couldn't really do too much about Xiahu just teleporting out of his face, so they just had to peace out from that entire play.
Now we're just back to square one. RNG still down here. Tain's going to do it again.
I really like the patience that FPX is getting here, but Tain probably not going to find this kill, but every time that you see RNG pushing out with priority and trying to group, FPX has been willing to take that second step. They're waiting a while, they're pushing out their own lanes, and then they're trying to catch RNG back when they go back.
Just good mind games overall in a position where Uzi and Ming wanted to base, and they didn't want it to be frozen out, so they're just sticking around a little while longer, but in a safe enough position for Karsa and Xiahu to at least meet them if a skirmish were to happen. So once again, both teams are pretty smart with how to position 11 minutes into the game. But I'm taking a look at this and saying that I'm much more happier about how FPX has played it out.
Yep.
While I've seen RNG put themselves in a position for a bot lane dive about 2 to 3 times, it's FPX that have defended that one well, that are now getting to their key item break points, the Mana Moon there for LWX so he can start scaling up. This is the least amount of damage I have ever seen Uzi do, with the pressure be so heavily in his favor.
Because normally with the Ezreal lane, Uzi takes control of it, he continues to dominate it, and he ends up with a couple of kills straight out of the phase itself, but this is FPX starting the Dragon with RNG now moving their way in. Chris going to use the teleport. Dredgeline's going to come through. Disappearing act here from the supporters. Langx teleports in now on top of Doinb, who gets knocked up, but the Dragon may go over, but the fight, wow! Great explosive cast here from Tain, as FPX now want to leave the fight, but RNG won't let them.
GimGoon's ready. He wants to get them out of there.
The Zoe burst already onto Chris, who doesn't have ult. He pops away Karsa. He'll die in the end, but that might be his life for it. Now on top of the rappel, they're looking for the jungler wall. The front line here from GimGoon. He hasn't gone into Meganar just yet, but he will survive anyway. Xiahu flashes away while ult comes through from LWX. A double kill for the Karsa.
What patience from FPX, who were stuck in the pit for so long, but they waited for GimGoon to get healthy enough to stack up Rage Bar and make it so RNG had to respect them.
That Athene's was the MVP of the fight for me. It procced so many damn times during that extended trade. You saw the shielding come down onto the Gnar over and over again, and it also protected the backline from being wiped out on RNG's side.
Here we go again.
Just the extended trade was so damn well. They got into position first, and Chris was willing to flash out of the first rotation from Xiahu.
Chris was definitely, in my eyes, MVP here because your team is stuck in the pit. Your focus now is definitely get Langx down and create a barrier so you have a way to get out of there. You just need an exit strategy. You got the Dragon, great. Now GimGoon can walk up. You now have the ability to get out of there for free. It was so close. He almost survived there too, but the Spiderlings are just so damn annoying. And then they found an opportunity to push for another fight. So Karsa definitely saw an opportunity on Xiahu, who was isolated as well, to just jump for the kill.
I'm glad at the start of this series I said that Karsa would be a key pick. Again here in Game 2, this time for FPX, it's leading the charge. And this is a good sign of things to come.
And this is going to be a super fed Karsa. Basically, FPX are running the RNG strategy right now by throwing Karma into LWX. Athene's going to come on next. It's going to buff up his attack speed, on-hit damage, and there will be looking for a crucial team fight when LWX hits that 2 items.
Yeah, and this is funny because in the history, like Doinb's career, he as a player, when he's put in a position where he's meant to support the rest of the squad, usually if you go up against teams like RNG, EDG, skill is a factor. He has to be the one that carries out the games. You can rely on LWX. We'll see it in this fight.
Well, we'll see, because Rift was dropped, but I don't think FPX want to stick around to find out what happens next. They have the gold lead, they've got the patience, they've got the Dragon.
And that's that evolution in your career. When, through all of your previous teams, you've been aggressive to a fault, right? In your leads, you're always still looking for risks. In this case, with Coach Warhorse in tow as well, this team has definitely found opportunities where they're like, okay, well, we can just scale up for specific items. If LWX is not ready to fight now because he needs to get to his, Quincy's Rage Blade, then great. Slow play denied them from even forcing these fights.
And I just want to tell the audience about the growth of FPX as a team, because they only started in 2018. They're the first, franchising team to ever make it into an LPL finals. And they used to be known as the crazy team. We never thought they would find success because they could never play a safe weak side. They were always going crazy all over the map. With Doinb and Warhorse leading the helm, they have been able to chill out. They have been able to play slow and defensive, and you're seeing the results here.
I'll add Tain into that pretty easily as well, who was, remember, 3rd place in MVP list for Spring Split, just as a player. You know, coming into this one, had his second opportunity as a starting jungler. Coming in initially with Suning, then being given that opportunity in FPX. They now have very talented players that give them this opportunity. So, you know, taking a second look at the map right now, RNG is forcing topside, and FPX is respecting that once again, taking a note of the fact that their bot side's working in favor of GimGoon.
Still trading that turret quicker. It's going to be bottom side, still pushed in by the Na, while Langx looking to get his own form of gold. I want to add in this game that it feels like Langx is actually...
Oh, you're dead!
I'm dead.
Resuscitate!
I'm back. Langx's actually had a game, is what I was trying to say before I almost choked on myself.
Alright, it's cool, it's cool. You need to watch out for the water around here. Just because I've booby-trapped them.
Oh, you have?
Yes, I
Oh,
have.
that's probably why.
I have
Stop
played a
drinking this
few
water bottle.
play-by-play games, so I definitely want to take that spot.
You haven't had one of my moments, though, so that's okay.
Alright.
That's fair.
Just happens every now and then. There's a lot of names to go
Thanks,
for.
guys.
Like, Langx is always a difficult name to go through.
Oh, okay, you're talking about the game. All right, fair enough. All
But
right,
I think
Clement.
RNG, they do need to think about how they're going to make picks happen. I would say their team is not really built for those front-to-back 5v5 team fights. They actually have a very weak front line. So they're much looking for creating blind spots on the map, using that poke to nail down on picks, while FPX, they're looking for that sustained engagement where they can have multiple rotations of the Karma Shield going down, get maximum use of Athene's Unholy Grail, and just power through it in an extended fashion.
Yeah, and I mean, if we're just talking about map state, yeah, he didn't see it coming, but he's going to be fine. I have faith. The map state is going to be in favor of RNG simply because they're making use of GimGoon's matchup pressure, which is wonderful. I mean, take a look at Aatrox at all times is underneath his inner turret, and that makes it a great opportunity to pick yourself up a second dragon. Now with the next dragon being a mountain, find yourself a double mountain dragon. It's a pretty stable game here from FPX going forward.
I will agree with you if you meant FPX.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I said GimGoon.
Okay.
That's what GimGoon ain't playing
you said RNG. I was just clarifying.
No,
I'm sorry. It was my throat that did this, guys. I'm sorry.
Either way, I'm just going to be taking a look at the fact that I feel like GimGoon is going to be the most important asset here for FPX. In side lane situations, in team fights, because he's actually been really aware of his Narbar in major team fights. Just being able to have the access to your ultimate is going to be crucial. I think honestly, the player who's impressed me the most in the LPL with the Gnar has been Mariant in the past when he's been with LGD.
Sure.
And I feel like GimGoon has been very close to being able to hit that factor every time in fights. He's been impressive this split for sure.
I mean, GimGoon has almost a wider champion pool as Doinb. Remember, this is the top laner that we start associating with the Gangplank here in summer. I have to hold that thought because Tain just walks in like a boss and steals away the red buff mid-thought.
You gotta love that. That's just a showcase of confidence in front of RNG. You know, RNG came in with business faces on their entire roster. There's no emotion. We're just here to win this clean sweep on their minds. But FPX were the one that looked a bit jittery. I think those plays really set the tone for your team moving forward.
And take a look at if we're just talking about game state once again, LWX is in a position where you just have to play through them. Unfortunate, but you'll still be able to get the blue buff. I have faith. Please, get it.
Well, hang on.
No! All right, we all right.
We good.
I'm emotional with them too, but at least they were able to pick up the blue buff.
Sorry, Raz, go on.
But the Rage Blade being picked up for LWX, and he's super close to being able to now fully stack his Muramana. So we're at a state now where you just confidently play around LWX, and you always have GimGoon's lane working out for himself. It needs to be RNG with the Elise and Zoe that finds a pick on towards either Doinb or Tain. All their front lines, I think you've made a mention of this, Clement, are incredibly squishy. So a Sleepy Trouble Bubble on either members will actually have major impact.
And I'm really looking towards that second Mountain Drake to be the kind of make or break point for RNG.
Okay.
If they don't find the catches here, double Mountain to FPX, very fast plasma stacks on the Karsa, and they will be looking to secure that very early on. You have a Gnar with the Rage Bard who can control when he comes into team fights, so RNG, they have to find something here.
Because you have genuine fear that at this point, by the time you get to that mountain, Clement, we're going to have a 3-item Karsa that's there to react. So in terms of item spikes, Uzi may have his Trinity Force, but that's a big Karsa once again.
Good dodge out here, but you have to be aware, once again, vision control being in favor of RNG in this position, that this is when Zoe can really be an insane amount of nuisance here. And how Xiahu tends to take over games on the pick. Watch out, Tain.
We talk about longer mid lanes. Tain walks into the river, and that just goes out the window. Half health on the Gragas. No Ocean to heal him up, but you got the Happy Hour passive to bring him back.
If I'm FPX, I'm just holding my horses for now. This is clearly a bait from RNG to try to
Hang
get
on.
big.
Does that look
Here we
like
go.
holding your horses?
Never
In goes
mind.
Crisp into the backline. Tain almost gets bursted out. They break the sound barrier once again as Karsa comes in over the rappel. Ming almost dies as LWX takes on the backline. Over goes GimGoon, and Langx left to his lonesome. That'll be a great two-shot barrage, but the Aatrox gets taken down, and FPX find their first major team fight.
Yeah, never chillaxing. They found themselves with no vision there. RNG didn't see the cow coming. Great opportunity to combo alongside Tain, and now they're looking straight towards the Baron.
I really want to see how Chris found that angle. Did he just pop across the wall? Because RNG did have a ward inside the river itself. Perfect flank. They get the team fight. They scatter RNG's complete front line. No picks in the early start of the fight. FPX are going to win that.
And it looks like we've just flipped the script here in game 2. RNG looked this dominant in game number 1. FPX have come through, taking the Baron and taking the first major gold lead in this game.
And it's in a surprising fashion. Of course, we didn't get to see the context here for how Crisp got in that position, but the damage is very apparent. Like, even with Tain, who was the most vulnerable in that fight, being in that flank and being as low as he was able to still contribute at the back half.
It was a really good idea in this team fight. They first forced out Uzi first. Karsa was left on his lonesome, and it was just cleanup duty from then on.
And if we're just talking about comfort picks, Crisp and Alistar, right? I know technically Ming has got the alley too.
We got 2 great allies.
But Crisp has definitely rose up into the ranks as one of the best supports right now in the world with how well he's been able to perform alongside Tain and finding plays like that consistently.
Sure, we'll get a closer look at how that happened, but for now, you can have faith that Crisp and LWX, the heart of this second game, have helped secure the Baron, helped secure the fight, and now in the side lanes, GimGoon, as you guys were talking about earlier in the game, he's hit those 2-item windows, and he's a menace in that bottom lane.
Yeah, just isolate it, make it so if anyone comes up, let's just say Karsa.
Oh, hang on, Killer Instinct! FPX, that's the go button.
It's snowballing, my friends. I don't think RNG can do too much about this.
RNG, they can't even get through the shields that Doinb is poking down at this point. If they need to find an engage, it has to be a hard committal, and it has to be a kill.
You heard me mentioning the score. Xiahu gets caught out with a portal jump. Instant reaction from LWX. 6-0-5 on this Karsa.
I want to see if this GimGoon rage bar is going to go to naught, but take a look at this. This is the wave that they want to crash on. RNG have to fight here.
Oh, they just want to take it right now. Uzi and Karsa get separated by the explosive casket, and the Nautilus is dead immediately. FPX will not be stopped here in this second game. They're on the inhibitors fast.
It's the decisiveness we've seen during the regular season. This team is fast with their leads. RNG needs to find a way to slow this down.
It doesn't look like they can. Baron's crashing in once again. The inhibitor turret number 2 is going to go down. Inhibitor with it. I told you they flipped the script, and FPX look confident.
And there's things on the map that they can still pick up after this as well. The Mountain Drake is going to come up. I just feel like RNG, they drafted themselves a composition without a lot of wave clear. They had an Elise that needs to do something early game, and neither of those fronts really worked out.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it came down to decisive plays from the primary supportive picks. I remember like being able to see LWX dart into the back line is what's made him famous. But yeah, the moment you find yourself getting dove like this, you start to really take a second look at your life. How did I get in this position?
Good coordination from FPX. You have to say the improvement from game 1 to game 2. That's why you're setting in for a potential series.
Yeah. I love the combo that they're using right here. It's just Karma Shield, speed up the Alistar, and just send him straight into the enemy composition. RNG cannot withstand their carries being knocked up.
Yeah, the utility that they have, the shielding from the Karma is going to make it super easy to look for those dives. They have a cannon minion wave here too, so all right, at least they got the good poke off.
Well, the poke we're talking about with RNG hits Doinb in the back line. That's your shield, and maybe that slows down the last push of the Baron.
Looks like it will reset the map, but FPX still has full control, and that mountain's still going to go over to their side.
Kind of reminds me of the last game a little bit, mostly because RNG was in this very same position. They had inhibitor down in both mid lane and bottom lane, and they kind of sped it up a little bit too quickly, needed to work with their bot side waves a little bit more. I'm still really confident in FPX here because, I mean, they can still pick up Mountain Dragon as an example that you've pointed towards. I mean, next Baron is certainly going to be on the cards with Double Mountain. It's going to be RNG that needs to poke their head out to try and find those picks, and I think it's just way too far gone.
Like
Yep,
I said in
true.
that first game, Clement, just to interrupt you there, it was the one moment needing to be found with RNG. I say the same thing. I look towards the pick potential we talked about with Zoe, and as you guys mentioned, with the trouble bubble.
Shields don't matter if you can put someone in a body bag. Now, the
Well
moments
said.
RNG are waiting for are those times when you don't have GimGoon on full rage bar. You can full engage on them. And honestly, Uzi is getting to the point where once he finishes Blade of the Ruin King, he will have enough damage to punch through the front line of FPX. So I think it's just about if RNG can get that crucial team fight, can punish for another siege, and maybe they get back in the game.
As you can see from the minimap, I mean, the wards that are positioned, as you can already see, got GimGoon out of there, so there was no possibility for RNG to even find a pick when the rest of the team was getting back onto the map. And that's really important. You don't get to see this a lot of the times from, you know, teams like FPX in the past. You know, the new teams without necessarily a lot of veterans that can bring you to this stage. And for them, they're incredibly clean with the lead that they have. I don't think RNG can really find that pick unless if it's just literally outplaying a team fight that FPX are looking for.
Or we look towards that Baron steal from Karsa. But as you
That's
mentioned,
true.
towards the vision there, hard to get towards the pit without FPX setting up. But at this point, with the double inhibitors broken and the top side pushing in, FPX don't want to get to that point.
Back at step one, take a look at the bottom lane wave. It's a cannon minion and it's a super minion and it's GimGoon just alongside with it. He's incredibly safe here. FPX don't need to do a damn thing until they see another member walking towards the Gnar.
Tain looking for the pick. LWX fixes up the wave in the mid lane as well. 13 seconds until that Baron spawns. And Ming, bit far forward here, I might add, as LWX going to walk away, but Chris goes in for the engage. Langx goes into World Ender, and LWX still far behind the enemy front liners. That's the explosive cast use once again. Langx has to flash away. That's Killer Instinct. LWX, the madman.
Wow.
QSS and survived. Instant triple kill, and you know Xiahu's going to die as well. He walks around, dies by Langxing's hand, but that's enough by FPX.
That's the shotgun for you. If he sees that opportunity, he's going to go straight for it, and that's the win right there for FPX.
The wham bam, thank you ma'am, to equalize to a 1-1 grand final.
FPX just take this one so damn strong. 12k gold advantage at the end, a 1v4 outplay from LWX. Great highlight moments, but I want to go back to the start. I think it all started with the defensive plays that they did. This game reminded me of BLG. They didn't contest the laning phase, even though they had chances to have priority. They stayed back, they scaled up, they hit their item power points, and when they were on the map, they were unstoppable.
It's an attribute of great teams, because you can't just be a team that is great with a lead and is great only offensively. What we saw from FPX were great defensive wards in split push situations, and to the point that Clement made, 3 or so times in which RNG were just hunting for dives and they had all the wards in the enemy red side jungle, FPX had positioned themselves to defend it consistently for LWX. This is a great jump back for the
And
team.
a really good look for FPX in the series. A really good look from the unit that we're expecting to live up to the first seed mark.
Take a look at that. I mean, the goal difference was just as it is. It was actually a cleaner game than RNG's in game 1.
Yes.
100%, and RNG's red side draft issues continue. They really have not performed on the red side so far. They have actually had trouble going through the LNG series, and this time around, I feel like they drafted something that was way too risky. If you didn't succeed early, there was no wave clear to get you back.
And the story we were always looking towards coming into this one were primarily towards the carry, sure, but you're looking towards the veteran, the go-to guy, best AD carry in the world, and Uzi versus someone who is certainly surging to that market. LWX, remember, all LPL AD carry. He actually was outright rewarded that one as, you know, the best performing AD carry. A lot of the times you can say it's because of the success of the team, sure. But also you can see it from here because he had always had the talent, just being able to find the mechanics to be able to, you know, outplay a lot of the fights. And he's always had that in 2018 for sure. This time he was able to kind of have the patience alongside with it to hunt for those opportunities so he just doesn't outright die and cost his team the game.
Because we saw,
An amazing performance here from him.
I was going to say, as we saw on the side of Uzi, at least against top esports, he could play that Ezreal matchup, he could dominate the lane and feel comfortable with RNG. This time around, LWX and Chris, a great laning phase, assisted, of course, by Tain.
I think it's crazy, but I'm pretty sure that we're going to see that Killer Instinct into 4 people start to move to LWX's brand rather than Uzi's. He's taking that over.
I mean, let me tell you one fact I've got right here. before this, 6 games on Karsa. Get away. 6 games on Karsa, 100% win rate. He now adds that to 7, and LWX undefeated in the 2019 summer season.
Ooh.
So Karsa, that's why I said the pick to watch here in this series.
Yeah, 100% it works well for both of these AD carries. And I think for the shotgun LWX, somebody who's going to be able to, if he sees that opportunity, he's never going to be, complacent. He's going to be aggressive. He's going to look for those chances.
Yep.
And so after game 1, we're definitely the nerves out of the way. We saw a much cleaner game. It's on the RNG to adapt and play much
And I'm
better.
looking towards, just before we do, I know we will hand over in a quick second. I'm looking towards the mid laners, Xiahu and Doinb. However, that's going to come right now. It's over back to the AD to break down game number 2.
Thank you very much, Asterix, and what a series, what a game.
Karsa,
Yeah,
Karsa.
Karsa. Literally, as the casters were saying, you were just saying it there, that Karsa's
Yeah.
going to be a big pick.
Karsa Gragas as a duo. It
And
looks-
Karma.
And
Well, the Karma helped. The Karma
Yeah.
definitely
I think
helped.
Karma
but-
was just a factor of the team comp that RNG put up together. Just didn't look that strong. Ezreal, Zoe. I didn't like their comp that much. Didn't make that much sense. Especially on red side. If you're going towards red side, you want to play a bit more towards your solos, and there isn't that much to do for Elise. Like now pressure against Aatrox early on. Mid, there's not that much to do in the Karma Zoe, so it's like where you're going towards your bottom lane, but your bottom lane is playing Nautilus and Ezreal, so what are you doing?
Yeah, you were saying it just as we were watching the game. You were like, I don't know what this bot lane does. And it's like, and you were trying to figure an answer, because obviously these guys are pros, they know what they're doing, but you were just like, I don't know what this does right now.
I mean, in Europe, people don't really play that. I mean, they don't play that much Ezreal first, and then Ezreal, Nautilus together. I mean, they had pressure sometimes, but they didn't utilize eventually jungle mid that well. One time Zoe came, got a big chunk on the bottom lane, but enemy AD at TP, just recall, TP back, then okay, we're fine. There's not that much to do, it felt like.
And for FPX, what a statement game to come back into this particular series. Like, that's the kind of game you want to see your players give when you've just gone down 1-0 down, and now we're at 1-1. It's basically a best of 3.
Yeah, I think this game, RNG made probably a few mistakes, I think especially in draft, because at least for us in LPL, we think like Ezreal and Nautilus is fine, but if you pick that, that means that you're going to play heavily towards your 2 solo lanes. So I think that Ezreal and Nautilus is fine on red side, but I mean, it's RNG, so there's no way you're going to play the top side. So I think
It's very unfortunate.
Yeah, you could just pick, you could probably pick a better bot lane combo, or maybe like even Xayah, I think it's a better choice there.
So I think the common census here is that the Ezreal Nautilus bot lane didn't quite make sense for a team that's looking to win from its bot lane. I think in the grand scheme of how RNG have historically won, especially in this season, it's been through Uzi on the hyper carries, the Kaisers, the Zivers, the Xayahs, that kind of stuff.
Like, if you play Elise, like in the top lane matchup, for example, Aatrox is gonna force Gnar to use E pretty often. So if Elise would have been playing topside River, I'm sure that in a different game, that an RNG game, they could have looked for a pick on Gnar for sure at some point in the game. Sadly, they're just like forced to play bot side quite a lot, and they didn't manage to get picks. And also, FPX didn't die in the 2v2 and misplay on the Raptor camp. So yeah, I think it's just in terms of draft, FPX draft just looked a lot better on paper for me at least.
And I think it's like exactly like you said after game 1. You like, if game 1, if you don't die to Raptors, if you don't die that 2v2, that's a very different game and it's a very different story. And
especially with Elise, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what we got in this one here, is where the bot lane was heavily focused from RNG, but FPX didn't go down. There was no little fumbles or mistakes coming out from Doinb, and all of a sudden, when it came down to the skirmishes, just FPX just knew how to play better, and LWX was fearless going in with those killer instincts.
In the first game, I think in terms of scaling, it was pretty equal. I would say that RNG had a better scaling in my opinion, but in the second game, like RNG don't have the better scaling, and they are losing the early game, so it was a fast loss.
It was a
from what we
fast
call
loss,
it.
yeah.
I think it was pretty hard to get back into the game, because I think the only chance they had to win a team fight was maybe at like 20-minute mark when Ezreal had 2 items, and they chose not to fight over their red buff, so there was no more chance to win.
And that was something that we were all calling. Like we were saying at around that 20-minute, kind of mark, this is where they should be fighting. But I feel like RNG were kind of knowing that the bot lane Kai'Sa had gotten so far ahead. They didn't feel that they were ahead.
No, it's just due to their team comp. It's really hard for them to force. Even if Nautilus press R or hook on someone, they have Karma shields, they have Alistar that can peel. It just like fight-wise 5 versus 5. It's very, very hard for RNG to do anything.
Well, we'll have to wait and see exactly how this series, see how it goes further on. But of course, we got to give the MVP over. It was going to be one and only. It's an 80 carries. It's all about the 80 carries. That's what it is. LWX picking up the MVP of that particular one. And of course, it is going to be a situation where, like they said in the Karsa desk, it's between Uzi and LWX for this series.
Yeah, he performed well overall. Like he managed to stand his ground, I guess, in the early laning phase. Didn't die after the Zoe chunk and just tip it back, just chill from there, and then he knew that he could just out team fight RNG and play the team fight well. I remember he managed to get a nice pick on the Zoe in the tier 2 towards mid lane. So yeah, just great performance for him overall.
And this is something, I was looking obviously at a lot of the OG LPL casters, as I used to call them, the Frostgurns of the world and stuff like that, checking them out, the OG LPL Chinese fangirl. And she was saying that, FPX will win the skirmishes and RNG will win the team fights. But this was just straight up, kind of like, it looked like a team fight, but it was separated into several different kind of 2v2s, 3v3s.
I think it's like slightly different because usually when, I think what she means by team fight is like when Uzi has his items, But when he doesn't have his items, I think he's just like any normal AD carry. Or at least above average AD carry.
He can definitely show weakness, he's not infallible, but like you said, like the amount of advantages we saw, like LWX kind of going in, just fearlessly going in with the killer instinct, knowing his limits, and even here, 4v1, just gunning for Uzi. I don't care what anyone says, that was personal. That was very much him saying, I am better than you.
They were quite ahead before this fight.
Yeah, it's true, but you still want to get it.
I was 10k ahead, so yeah, I mean, you can say that it was a good fight, but they are really far ahead, especially even with all far ahead they are also outscaling with the Karma, with the Karsa compared to Zoe.
I will say though, if you get an opportunity to kill FLICKR in a competitive match, you're going to kill FLICKR. Like, that's just the way it is, It doesn't matter if you're super far ahead or not, you're going to take that opportunity.
It looked flashy.
It was definitely very, very flashy. Great for the highlight reel as we come into it. But we're going to throw it to a quick break. When we return, we're going to have the third game of this best of 5, and we'll see if RNG can bounce back or if FPX can keep the train rolling. We'll see you then.